right. I think we are live once again. Missed a couple days, but no worries. We get right back into um, it. Road to 1 mil. Sorry, I couldn't say that with a straight face. Why? Sorry. Let's move on. Okay. Um, so we finished up the left side here. Today we're just focusing on the right side. Um, let's just hammer these out and move on. Car, CAR, corrective action report, uh, CAB, CASB, cloud access security broker. This is actually, there are several questions regarding this one. So definitely a term to remember here. Uh, CBC, cipher blocking chain, CBT, computer-based training, CCMP, counter mode, CB, MAC protocol, CCTV, closed circuit TV or television, CERT, computer emergency response team. I have seen this term used in the questions, so might be valuable here. CFB, cipher feedback, CHAP, challenge handshake authentication protocol. There's actually several questions that I've seen this one on, so definitely one to keep your eye on. CIO, chief information officer, another one that's used heavily in the Sec Plus. CIO, um, make sure you know that one. CIRT, computer incident response team. I haven't seen this one too often, but good to remember. RT response team. Um, CIS, Center for Information Center for Internet Security. CMS, Content Management System. CN, common name. Common name is something that's used in uh, certificates, or sorry, um, yeah, it's in certificates. Um, if you were ever like looking through like an LDAP or an Active Directory system, SCN would be used quite often to describe the organization. So, like your company's name would be a common name. Um, COP, continuity of operations planning, uh, or COOP. This one I have seen before. COP, COPE, uh, corporate owned, personally enabled. Corporate owned, personally enabled. CP, con- contingency planning. Sorry for the uh, for the pronunciation there. CRC, Silic, redundancy check, um, or so, uh, I got to butcher that one. Redundancy check. Let's move on. CRL, certificate revocation list. Um, C. So these two are the ones I'd keep my eye on. I've seen these. CSA, Cloud Security Alliance. Um, the Cloud Security Alliance is one of interest because that one is a organization, um, and they use something called CCM, which is stands for Cloud Control Matrix. Um, so good to remember that this is a cloud security, similar to the one that was above here, Cloud Access Security Broker. So any cloud questions, these would be ones to note down. CSIRT, Computer Security Incident Response Team. CSO, Chief Security Officer. In most organizations, I don't really see CSO be used. I see CISO be used. So good to know. CSP, Service Provider. These would be ones like AWS, Azure, Amazon, of the sorts. Um, CSR, Certificate Signing Request. This is what is sent to the certificate authority. Um, um, CSRF, uh, Cloud Site Requests Forgery. Uh, CSU, Channel Service Unit. CTM, Counter Mode. CTO, Chief Technology Officer. These two would be ones of interest here to remember. This is an attack or a way that a threat actor would gain would you know um, bypass security systems uh, uh, using cross-site request forgery, um, and usually it's like the, they they typically will submit a request to the web server and then gain authentication that way. Um, um, we'll need to remember the exact usage though for it. So we will come back to this one and see what that one is all about. CSU, Channel Service Unit, CTM, Counter Mode, CTO, Chief Technology Officer. Uh, CVE, Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures. This is extremely popular in the security space. CVEs are used to note down various um, security vulnerabilities that are out in the open. The list is extensive, and there are a lot of them. Um, get familiar with the ones that are popular, because you might be asked in an interview or even at your job to keep track of new CVEs that are being created. They are dated, so not too hard to keep track of um, the ones that are out there. Just make sure that if it's affecting your systems, you are one of the first people to know as a security liaison for the company. Uh, see if we can get back here. All right, CVSS, Common Vulnerability Scoring System. So this is the scoring system that's used to basically rate the severity of a vulnerability, um, and how large the attack surface is, and what kind of access is gained. Um, and um, yeah, there's a lot of them. Um, a lot of CVEs with a high amount of with a high CVSS score. Um, and the CVSS score ranges from um, a 10, which is uh, you know essentially root level access to the machine, right? You can control anything, all the way down to uh, a 1, right? Uh, and then anything, and then there's a bunch in between. I think we usually see the highest category in the 6 to 8 category. So you'll see a lot of them in that range, but there are plenty in the other categories as well. Um, Usually, people don't go after the small vulnerabilities though, so uh, those don't get as documented as well, like the ones that are like ones and twos, right? Because companies usually eat the residual risk of those anyway. Uh, CY OD, choose your own device. This is similar to BYOD, bring your own device, except this one you're uh, choosing a device. DAC, discretionary access control. There's various access control systems. There's mandatory access control or a MAC, which is shouldn't be confused with media access control. That's also MAC. Um, Read the context of the question. And then discretionary is a, a data owner uh, or the owner of access, right? And then they're facilitating the access to everyone else, right? So you have like one encompassing owner in a discretionary access control setting. Um, DBA, database administrator, a very popular role in IT, being seen less and less as time passes. They're kind of getting mixed in with the AI and machine learning. But database administrators are still a very popular career field. Um, but in the next 10 years, it might get mixed in with AI and just be rebranded as something else. DDoS, distributed denial of service, and then DEP, data execution prevention. Um, okay, so um, let's see here. So we're done with page one. Um, let's go down, keep going. HSM, hardware security module. This is a question, or this term will be in the question. So remember this one. This one not so much. Security module as a service, or HS MAS. HTML, hyper markup language, HTTP, right? The backbone of all websites, right? Um, this is unencrypted traffic, and then this is encrypted traffic, right? Hence the secure at the end. HVAC, um, heating, ventilation, uh, air conditioning, um, IaaS, infrastructure as a service. So this would be um, um, bare metal, right? Um, being provided for you um, as a service. IAM, um, identity and access management. Um, ICMP, internet control, message protocol. This is used heavily in emailing. Um, uh, ICS, industrial control systems. IDEA, international data encryption algorithm. IDF, intermediate distribution frame. IDP, identity provider. You might see this one in the test. I've seen a couple of questions related to this one and using ICMP and IM. IEEE, this is an organization, Institution of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. Um, IKE, Internet Exchange, Internet Key Exchange. Um, IM, instant messaging, something that we should all be relatively familiar with. And if you have a smartphone, you use this. Um, you, you use instant messaging. IMAP and 4, this is a protocol 4 of Internet Message Access Protocol. Um, IOC, indicators of compromise. IoT, Internet of Things. These two um, you might see in the actual exam. Internet of Things are just devices that connect to uh, your kind of like smart home devices. That's how I described IoT devices. I also see as a um, indicator of something. In this case, compromise. IP Internet Protocol, IPS intrusion prevention system. There's an IDS intrusion detection system. IPsec. This is the security for um, the Internet Protocol, um, and IPsec is relatively um, the concept is to essentially secure your network by encrypting your packets over the network, right? So you can't fall for things like man in the middle attacks, right? Um, IR, incident response, get a very popular term in IT in general, but you'll probably see it on the test. Incident response. I haven't really seen it be labeled by its abbreviation, but um, could could quite possibly be there. IRC, Internet Relay Chat, not used too often, but IRCs were very popular back in the day. Um, Essentially a chat over the internet, like it's a very old protocol used for instant messaging apps. There's things still called IRC chats. They still exist. They're free, um, and don't know who uses them, right? But yeah, they're still there. IRP incident response plan, um, ISA interconnection security agreement. These are terms I have not seen. I don't think we'll be seeing them. ISFW, internal segmentation firewall. ISO, this is a term you will see. Um, International Organization for Standardization. ISP, Internet Service Provider. ISO is a standard, and there's various numeric systems for ISO. An example is a uh, uh, 27001, and then there's 002 and 27701 and 27 or sorry 31,000, right? Those are the ones that I've recalled in the practice exam so far. ISP, Internet Service Provider. These are providers that give you internet. Xfinity, right, is one of them. Um, um, and there's various other ones. If you live in the states, you might have something like Charter, right, or Spectrum. Um, ISSO, Information Systems Security Officer. Um, yeah, that's a term I really haven't seen being used in too many questions. ITCP, IT contingency plan, right? Uh, so anything that's contingent uh, the would be you kind of looking at the plan of keeping IT going, right? So um, yeah, there's a continuity plan, and then what is kind of using our poor English skills here. Contingency, you know, means the possibility or the prediction of something happening, right? So like seeing getting ready for the unforeseen, right? So if something bad happens, what do you do, right? So that's what contingency means in this scenario. IV is initialization vector. KDC, Key Distribution Center. Uh, this one I have seen before, uh, so that's one to keep your eye on. Next one I have not seen, Key Encryption Key, L2TP, Layer 2 tunneling protocol. This one you will see on the exam or some of the questions. LAN, Local Area Network, one of the standards of most enterprise and home networks, a LAN network. LDAP, lightweight directory access protocol. Um, This is the the protocol that's used in AD. At least I think. Uh, I'm fairly certain that that's the case, but LDAP servers can be set up, and LDAP itself is open source. I don't think it's owned by any organization. Uh, Leap, lightweight lightweight uh, extensible authentication protocol. This is one you will see. A MAS, monitoring as a service. Haven't seen MAS too much, but good to know that the M stands for monitoring. Mac, media access control. So, kind of like I said before, there's a mandatory access control, and then there's a media access control. Both have the same abbreviations. So make sure you read the question for context. Um, AMAM, mobile application management, AMAN, metropolitan area network. This is one you might see. MANs are popular for connecting buildings over between cities, right? Uh, so uh, there's a possible question you could be asked around that. MBR, master boot record. If you're being asked anything in regards to drives or storage, um, there are various types of of uh, various types of partition tables you could set up for storage. MBR being one of them, and then GPT being another. Um, MBR master boot record, and then GPT or uh, GPT GUID partition table, right? So um, MD5 message digest 5. This is an encryption algorithm. So MD5 and SHA are kind of interchangeable here. Uh, uh, when I say encryption, I mean like hash values, checking the integrity of a file, um, and and um, making sure that the file hasn't been changed or corrupted. Right. A hash file is generated, and it can either be hashed in MD5 or SHA-1 or SHA-2 or SHA-3. Right. Um, MDF main distribution frame, MDM mobile device management. Um, this is one you will see along with MD5 and maybe MAN and MBR. MFA multi-factor authentication. This is one you will see. Um, multi-factor is really just two different ways of authenticating yourself, right? It's who you are and maybe what you know, right? Or what you know and what you have, right? MDF, multifunction device, MFP, multifunction printer, ML, machine learning. At the time, this wasn't as popular, but now this is probably one of the most popular career fields you can get into right now. ML and AI. Uh, Third page. Let's try to get all of it done tonight. PCI DSS, Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. Uh, this is a standard for credit cards, right? So when you pay at the terminal, there needs to be a security standard that was created around this. Make sure that your uh, credit card information is safe and not readable once used. PDU, power distribution unit, uh, PE, portable executable. Various applications have portable versions of themselves for flash drive storage, kind of on the go. Um, PE AP, protected extensible authentication protocol. This is another one you'll see. It's their various protocol names. I honestly still have trouble with these myself, so just know what they mean so that you can get the context of the question. PED, portable electronic device. PEM, privacy enhanced mail. PFS, perfect forward secrecy. So this one is one you will see, along with PGP, pretty good privacy. Um, these PGP is used mostly in a mailing exchange to make sure that you are who you say you are. And then PFS, don't have too much experience with that one, but um, uh, it's mostly used for session key protection. Um, there is a there's a secret that's forwarded in a cryptographic language or a method, and then that's kept as a private key and shared between servers. Um, PHI, personal health information. Um, HIPAA is a standard that kind of revolves around PHI. PHI is mostly used in health or medical organizations. PII, this is something that could be used in any organization that saves data, your name, age, phone number, where you live, etc. Is considered PII because it identifies who you are. Uh, PIN, a PIN, personal identification number. Um, when you uh, try to go to an ATM and um, get money out of your bank account, use a PIN. Uh, PIV, identity verification. So there was a question regarding this one, and I didn't know what this term meant, so it's good to know now. Personal identity verification. So this one will be seen on the test, along with a lot of these. Once we get here, it's a little iffy. I haven't seen too many questions asked about these two, but that one's in there. Um, PKCS, public key cryptography standards. This is another one you will see on the exam. Um, PKI, public key infrastructure. PKI is PKI is huge. It is a lot of the backbone of a lot of these encryption algorithms. Um, it kind of governs the entire body of like digital certificates, right? So if you use a certificate in a organization, you are in essence using something like using PKI, right? Because in PKI's form, you have a CA, which is a certificate authority. You have a RA, which is a registry authority, and then you have like a VA um, or your organization, and you're giving giving your science certificate or CSR to the CA, and then that's getting uh, put through the RA and then sent to your web client, right? And then there might be a VA in there, um, but uh, the- usually I don't see a validation authority, but there could be one. Mostly the questions are kind of focused on CAs and RAs, and PKI kind of encompasses the process of how digital certificates work and are managed. Uh, Hence the public key portion, right? That's kind of a good way to remember it. Uh, POC, proof of concept, used in a lot of uh, business, IT, even scientific, various career fields. POC is just kind of the idea of creating a demo of whatever it is you're trying to create and then upscale it to the real thing. Just kind of showcasing that it works, right? Um, POP, post office protocol. Haven't seen that one too often. POTS, plain old telephone service. Um, PPP, point to point protocol. This is one you will see. Um, uh, Hopefully they don't hit you with that acronym, but just remember it's point to point, right? And then protocol at the end, right? Uh, PPTP, point to point tunneling protocol. So these two you will probably see on some of the questions. just make sure that you know what those mean, and know what the what the acronym is for. PSK, pre-shared key. You'll see this in attached to WPA or uh, Wi-Fi, right? Wi-Fi encryption algorithms. PTZ, pan tilt zoom. These are cameras that are used in like big businesses or churches or mosque or really anywhere for the purpose of recording a session. Someone will manually control these, so there are uh, the PTZ portion just stands for a device that does panning, tilting, and zooming, right? So really, any device that does do that is considered a PTZ device. PUP, potentially unwanted program, or PUP for short. Um, um, there's an AUP, acceptable use policy, and then there's a PUP. So potentially unwanted program. QA, quality assurance. QoS, quality assurance is like software testing, right? For uh, uh, for the context of questions, right? Whenever you hear about QA in the in the Security Plus, I kind of think software testing or testing of software, making sure that it's working and orderly and meets the needs of the company. QoS, quality of service. This is used in tandem with networks. Whenever you set up QoS, you're kind of setting some devices as the star devices to consume the most amount of bandwidth. QoS is only really useful when you have a limited amount of bandwidth in your network, and you kind of want to segment it up. Um, there's various other use cases for it, but in most cases, at least for home and small business usage, a QoS system is just to control bandwidth. Um, RA, Registry Authority, uh, RAD, Application Development, Rapid Application Development, Radius, Remote Authentication Dial, User Service, RAID, Redundant Array of Inexpensive Disks. RAID is one you'll see as along with Radius, and even RA. Uh, I haven't seen RAD too much. RAM, random access memory. Uh, this is the memory on machines. So the little DIMM slots that you kind of click the memory into. That's what RAM is. It could also be soldered onto a board. Um, RAS, Remote Access Server. RAT, Remote Access Trojan. Um, RCF, Reves Cipher version 4. Um, you'll see, these two kind of used in the exam. RCS, Rich Communication Services. RFC, Request for Comments. RFID, uh, Radio Frequency Identification. Uh, RIPE-MD, Race Integrity Primitives, Evaluation Message Digest. That's a long one there. Um, I for integrity, P for primitives, and then M for messages. Um, I just tried to break them down into the easiest ways that we could potentially remember them. ROI, return on investment. This is a financial uh, acronym, but used heavily in business and as so someone working in IT or trying to make the business money. So you got to know how to give the organization some ROI back on whatever investment that they do. If you recommend a piece of software and they go and buy that software and then you're supporting it, well, that software has to recuperate some money, so it has to provide a ROI. RPO, recovery point objective. Um, there are questions using these terms, so I would recommend knowing that one. RSA, uh, Rivest, Shamir, Ad Edelman. Didn't know that that's what the acronym stand for, but good to know. RSA. Um, RSA tokens are kind of the way I remember RSA, where you essentially have a token that is kind of stored on a hardware or software device, and then it renews every couple seconds. RTBH, remotely triggered black hole. RTO, recovery time objectives. RTSO, real time operating system. Um, RTP, real time transport protocol. SMIME, secure multipurpose internet mail exchange. Um, SAS, software as a service. SAE, simultaneous authentication of equals. SAML, security assertions markup language. Uh, probably gonna butcher that one. SCADA or SCADA. Yeah, probably butchered that one. uh, software control and data acquisitions. SCAP, security content automation protocol. Okay, last page. Let's go. UTA, user acceptance testing. UDP, user diagram protocol. There's TCP and UDP. Um, UEBA, user and entity behavior analytics. UEFI, unified extensible firmware interface. This is something that kind of runs in your BIOS. There's various modes like secure boot to check for malicious software being ran in the BIOS. UEM, unified endpoint management. UPS, uninterruptible power supply. This is used in uh, data centers, server rooms, home networks if you really need it. Basically, it keeps power going to your devices. Once you lose powers, you can think of it as like a big battery that kind of stores that power to be used when power outages happen. Um, URI, Uniform Resource Identifier. Uh, URL, Universal Resource Locator. Um, if you use the internet, URLs are something you're quite familiar with. It's the address in which you type into your browser, right? That lead to somewhere. USB, Universal Serial Bus USB devices are extremely popular today. They've been popular for a while. And there's various forms of USB, USB-C, and there's USB 3, and then there's USB 2, different generations and versions. USB OTG, USB on the go. Haven't seen that one too much yet. UTM, Unified Threat Management. I have seen this one in the questions. UTP, Unshielded Twisted Pair. VBA, Visual Basic for applications. Um, there's things called VBA scripts in the sec world that kind of get used to that get ran in Windows Server or Windows environments. Uh, so that's kind of the use case here. VDE, Virtual Desktop Environment. VDI, Virtual Desktop Infrastructure. Um, so VDIs are popular in enterprises because essentially what's going on is if you did not have a enterprise uh, device to use, maybe away from the network or the enterprise network, and you needed to still connect to the enterprise network, but they didn't want you using your device to do that to do so. Well, you can do something like a VDI service that you would, enter in a browser, and then that would open up a virtual desktop for you or a VDE, um, and then you could use you'd be connected to the enterprise environment via VPN or something, um, and then you could continue your operations. VDIs also are able to hold state, so it could remember what you did the last couple of days. But essentially, if you just needed a working machine and you weren't allowed to use your machine to do work, right? A VDIs could be a solution. VLAN, virtual local area network. Very popular in the IT space. VLANs are used all the time, even in home networks, to separate devices and create, you know, and then protect in the event that something is affected. There's only a certain range of devices that would get affected by a vulnerability, right? Or someone being able to access the network because it'd be segmented across the network. VLSM, haven't seen this one too often. Variable length subnet masking, VM virtual machine, VoIP or VoIP, voice over IP, VPC, virtual private cloud. You'll see this term be used in cloud specific um, um, in cloud specific cases, right? So VPCs are essentially uh, a network, right, that gets created in the cloud virtually. And there's a term for that, right? So a VPN, virtual private network. This is something that you would use on your client devices or your servers to uh, essentially uh, look like you are somewhere else, right? VTC, video teleconferencing, a WAF, web application firewall, a WAP, a wireless access point, a WEP, a wired equivalent privacy. This is the um, the security uh, the security settings you have on your Wi-Fi. WEP is something that's used for authentication on a network. Um, uh, and it's you know one of the ways that's used to protect wireless networks. It's fairly old, and there's various security vulnerabilities for it, so it's not used as much anymore. WPA and WPA3 or sorry, WPA2 and WPA3 are the ones that are used now, right? WIDS, wireless intrusion detection system. WIPS, wireless intrusion prevention system. If you ever see, these terms in this kind of order, IPS, IDS, kind of go hand in hand. W is for wireless. Uh, Worm, write once, read many. Um, I believe this is in a attack form. WPA, Wi-Fi protected access. WPS, Wi-Fi protected setup. So this is another way to get authenticated to the network without having to enter a password. Um, uh, XAS or ZAS, anything as a service. Haven't seen that term be used too often. XML, extensible markup language. This is a text language used to create things called XMLs, and XMLs are just uh, used a lot in configuration. So like the config of a web server, for example, there's such thing called XML injection. So there is a vulnerability for XML itself. XOR, exclusive OR. This is an encryption mechanism. XS, RF, cross site request forgery. Um, and then XSS, um, cross cross site scripting. And that about does it. This one kind of piqued my interest here. So there are two of the same ones. So I guess these are kind of used interchangeably, which is extremely confusing for anyone who's just getting into this. But good to know. CSRF cross-site request forgery and XSRF cross-site request forgery. Okay, we are done with the the acronyms for a little bit. We'll probably revisit them as a way to refresh ourselves before I take the exam. Um, but the next step is to um, go back to Anki and do some additional questions. Um, Great thing about Anki is that there's a lot of, or Anki, Anki. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, correct me. Uh, I believe is Anki. I could be wrong. Um, so we're gonna touch base on these questions again. Um, we're going to be looking at um, section 1 again. Just kind of revisiting it. So let's start this. What is tailgating in the context of social engineering? It's the process of following someone, right? So B, which of the following statements best describes the impersonation method in social engineering tactics? Uh, Impersonation attacks always involve email or phone calls. Impersonation attack relies on the person's trust and involves the attacker playing a known role. Sounds about right. Attacks only target the technical vulnerabilities of a system. Impersonation attacks do not require any preparation or planning. Let's go with B. What is the purpose of prepending in cybersecurity contexts? Um, Probably C here and make the message appear more trustworthy. I think some of these questions we've already had, so which social engineering technique involves creating fake websites similar to the one to deceive the user? This is a phishing. Which of the following best describes invoice fraud? I think we got this one wrong last time. I believe the answer here is B. Which principle of social engineering involves using other people's actions or decisions to justify the attacker's request? This is a new one. Um, which principle of social engineering involves using other people's actions or decisions to justify the attacker's request? Consensus? Could be wrong here. Okay. Consensus, also known as a social proof, is a principle of social engineering where the attacker refers to other people's actions or decisions to justify their own request. They may tell the target that their coworker was able to provide requested information previously, implying that it should be acceptable for a target to do the same. Okay. How do bad actors amplify their influence campaigns using social media? Um, yeah, B sounds about right here. Which social engineering principle exploits a victim's lack of knowledge about uncommon attacks to gain unauthorized access to their files? Familiarity. Oh, sorry. Scarcity is one we got wrong. It's the context of referring to the exploitation of knowledge due to victims' unfamiliarity. Oh, unfamiliarity with these types of attacks, they are less likely to recognize the threat and take necessary precautions. As a result, attackers can easily gain unauthorized access. Okay, we'll come back to that one. What is the main difference between farming and fishing? Farming targets DNS servers while fishing targets individuals. B. How can attackers exploit familiarity like liking to successfully execute a social engineering attack? How can attackers exploit familiarity liking to successfully execute a social engineering attack by pretending to be a known individual or organization, creating a sense of urgency by exploiting victims' lack of knowledge, this is scarcity by pretending to have the power and control over the victim. Sounds like B to me. Or sorry, A. What is eliciting information in the context of social engineering? Um, Extracting information through normal and innocent conversations. Uh, how do social engineering attacks exploit trust to deceive victims? Advanced techniques exploit to compromise systems by providing realistic looking false information on platforms, by exploiting known vulnerabilities by using brute force. Uh, B sounds about right. Yep. What factor primarily contributes to the prevalence of pretexting among social engineering attacks? Pretexting is, we had this one before. Ability to exploit software vulnerabilities, use phishing emails to gather information, manipulation of human behavior to gain access to information, their reliance on typeless coding to redact, redirect users to malicious websites. Uh, see, yeah, USC. I just double clicked. What principle of social engineering involves creating a sense of urgency to persuade the target to act quickly? Uh, I would assume authority, but I could be wrong here. Scarcity. Oh, okay. I think we had this one. Let's come back again. What is the primary purpose of shoulder surfing in the context of computer security? Obtain confidential information by observing the victim's actions. What is the primary technique used by advanced ransomware to extort victims to payment for payment? Encrypting the victim's files. Which of the following techniques is not commonly used in phishing attacks? Sense of urgency. They do that using fake news. Trick the victim, malicious link. They do that. Impersonating a trusted entity to trick users into revealing information. Encrypting sensitive data to render it unreadable without a decryption key. D sounds more like ransomware. So I go with D. Which of the following statements is true about Trojans? They can propagate themselves by injecting their code into other files. That's true. They can only spread through email attachments. Well, no. They can mislead users about their true intent. They always act as ransomware. C. So basically the Trojan horse. Yeah. The misleading. That's one I think we'll just go with because I think we need that one. What makes influence campaigns a dangerous new paradigm in cybersecurity? They're highly visible and easy to attribute. Uh, uh, they are secretive, deniable, difficult to attribute, and can severely influence public opinion. C sounds about right. Um, what differentiates a computer worm from other types of malware in terms of propagation method? Require a host to spread. I believe this is true. This is also true. I go and see here. Which social engineering principle exploits a victim's lack of knowledge about oncoming attacks to gain unauthorized access to scarcity? Which of the following is not a common type of personally identifiable information or PPI that can be used to identify theft? It's not. Name, social security number, favorite color. C. Which of the following best describes the negative effects of potentially unwanted programs or PUPs? We learned about this acronym just a few minutes ago. Um, PUPs are always cause severe damage to the user systems, compromise privacy, weaken security, and may display intrusive advertising. That sounds about right. PUBs only deliver unwanted advertising users. PUBs are always malicious software created by hackers. Would be what is the primary purpose of birding in the context of cybersecurity? Uh, Identifying vulnerabilities within the network. Uh, C sounds about right. Gathering information about the computer system and their entities. What is the primary reason fileless malware is difficult to detect and counteract? Uh, C sounds about right. It exists exclusively in the computer memory and does not write to the hard drive. What is a key characteristic of spear phishing attacks that make them more effective than generic phishing attacks? B. Yep. In the context of computer security and cyber warfare, what does the term command and control mean? Uh, let's see. Uh, C. What is the most effective measure to protect against spam in instant messaging? Make IM username, other information public. D. Okay, one. What principle of social engineering involves creating a sense of urgency to persuade the target to act quickly? Scarcity. C. What is a primary purpose of a botnet? To provide legitimate software distribution, to perform a DDoS, yeah, to enhance security, no, B. What is the primary difference between whale attacks and CEO fraud? Uh, A? Oh, B. Oh, yeah, I think we had this one. Uh, what is it? What differentiates a logic bound from a trial program with the disabled functionality after a set time? Yep. What is the primary purpose of dumpster diving in the context of cybersecurity? Uh, B. What is the goal of spyware? Gather information. B. What is the primary difference between virus hoaxes and computer pranks? Virus hoaxes are typically harmless and spread through social engineering. Computer pranks involve unwanted and annoying action of the computer. B. Yep. Primary purpose of keystroke logging, gather information. But also C, yeah, C, to record. The keystroke on a keyboard typically can covertly for monitoring and stealing information. What is the primary characteristic of pretexting as a social engineering attack? Um, Creating a situation. Yeah. What is the main characteristic of a rat? Botnet. Oh, no. Controlling a system through remote network control. I think I got this confused with something else. Got that one wrong. What is the primary strategy between watering hole attacks? A. Oh, target is used by the target organization with the malware. Okay. Oops. Okay, I'll do that one again. What is the information? What interface typically targeted in a credential harvesting attack? Usernames, passwords, emails. Was one reason the backdoors are deliberately and widely known. C. Oh, all right. Do that again. What makes rootkit detection particularly difficult? Rootkits can be detected by antivirus, maybe to prevent the software intended to find them. Yeah, yep. Help manufacturers restore easier passwords. And then characteristic of a rat, controlling systems through remote control. All right. I think we got 4 or 5 wrong there, which is not not terrible, but not great. So we'll have to go and do the next ones tomorrow. Yeah, see how far we get. More decks that we do, the more we can possibly understand. Right. So sorry for going a little fast on one. We just had to go through that acronym, which took a bunch of time. But yeah, that is it. That is the end of the stream for tonight. Thanks for watching and have a good day.